Hello, everybody. How are you this morning, this afternoon? I know that we are all over the place in terms of time zones, and I'm really delighted to welcome everybody to the Canada Africa Innovation Fellowship Showcase. So we call this the CAIF, CAIF, but I've started thinking about it as the Canada Uganda Innovation Fellowship. So it's what is that? QIF. It's not really, it doesn't roll off the tongue, but it really is intended to highlight Uganda as well as Canada in the title. So I'd like to welcome everybody to this in-person and online attendees to this 2023 edition. I'm Brian Harrigan. I'm the CEO of Engineers Without Borders Canada, and I've been in place since late last year, sometime in November that I started. And I'm really delighted that we're able to resume in-person projects like this. It's the first time since COVID. And I really want to thank the fellows. I'd like to thank the fellows in Canada, Uganda for your work, for your stamina, for your energy you have shown in the past weeks. And it's many harvesting sessions, planting sessions, so to speak, and now you're going to be able to harvest and see the fruit of your efforts, your labor today. So for participants who haven't prepared like the fellows, the topics we're going to talk about today are really germane to many different things that are going on in the world today. That the world of development has changed a lot in the past 25 years, and in 20 years, it'll also be very different from today. But, you know, we always are focused on what's going on right now. The food crisis has been exacerbated by the war in Ukraine, for example. You have clean water and water scarcity that is happening in many locations due to climate change, partly, but also to industrialized agriculture and population growth. Health and welfare of populations is always probably number one in terms of international development spend. And it ranges so many things, but it also includes areas like mental health, which are invisible, but are really important in this age of online all the time and very high information laden and dense society we live in. So let's not forget about mental health. And finally, clean energy. You know, right now, COP28 is this meeting of the United Nations, climate change. Every so often they meet. This year it's going to be in the epitome of oil and gas country, UAE, United Arab Emirates, but it's going to bring together something like 70,000 individuals from around the world. And the whole point is decarbonization and clean energy. And what does that mean for developing countries in the context of developing countries also want to use a lot more energy, including electricity. So the groups today are going to talk about agriculture and food security. They're going to discuss how to get clean water, how to improve health, and how to do this energy transition in the Uganda context with clean energy. I'd like to thank all the mentors who worked with the fellows groups. I'd like to thank the academic institutions who also participated in this, and the donors who made this exchange possible. So thank you all. And I'd like to introduce you now to Herbert Kisara, who's our manager of Engineers Without Borders Africa program. Over to you, Herbert.
Thank you, Brian. Yes, I would like to take the opportunity to welcome everyone to the Canada Africa Innovation Program 2023. And this, as our CEO has said, this is a very opportunity for us, because this is a program that we've been running for now 3 years, and now bringing everyone up to the in-person program has been very exciting for us. So my name is Herbert Kisara. I'm the African Program Manager for Engineers Without Borders Canada. And today, I want to start by thanking everyone who created space to be able to attend this program. So there's a lot of Hello? Yes, so I'm just going to say. Hello? So just give us a minute. Hello, everyone. Can you guys hear me? No. Opportunity to welcome all of you to the Canada Africa Innovation Fellowship Program 2023. As our CEO has said, this is a very momentous opportunity for the program. This is a program that we have been running for the last 3 years, and this is the first time that we are doing it in person. Just to give you a little bit of context about the program is an innovation program where ideally our focus is to bring young innovators across the world, in this situation, Uganda and Canadians, where they can come together for 13 weeks and sort of like ideate through some of the problems that the world is facing, more specifically around the issues of climate change. So has been the focus of the program. And today we'll have the opportunity of seeing some few presentations of innovations that the group has been ideating for the last 13 weeks in Uganda. So to start us off, I just want to take this opportunity again to also thank all the facilitators, all the coaches, the USV team for dedicating these 13 weeks to be with our fellows, to take them through some of these ideation problems, but also to thank some of our community partners, because part of this program was some few weeks were being spent in Kampala for the team to be able to connect to the different organizations within the spaces that they're working, but also part of the program was for them to be placed in a rural community in Uganda, where they can be able to see the magnitude of some of these challenges that they're working with. And with this, I want to thank ACDECO, which was one of the partner organizations that the fellows were based in Bukedia, that was in Eastern Uganda, where they were able to ideate some of these problems and also try to figure out some of the technical challenges that came through the ideation. So with us, I don't want to talk a little more, because then the superheroes of today are the fellows that you have all come together to see the innovation. So I just want to take this opportunity to invite them to stage. There are 4 of them. They'll come at different times where they'll be able to share their presentation. They will have 8 minutes to share their presentation with the crowd. And then afterwards, we are going to have around 7 minutes where we can ask them any question, either trying to figure out more in terms of what they're doing, but also to understand more or less their innovation. In between that, we're also going to have 2 panel discussions. In this panel discussion, some of them will come in front, and we will be able to engage with them in some few questions just to get more clarity of the program and also some of the work that they were doing for the last 13 weeks beyond what they're just presenting today. So that's the kind of setup for today. And with that, I want to invite the first group, AgriBorder, to come and make their presentation. Let's welcome them, please.
Good afternoon, food security champion. My name is Tukashava Rita.
And my name is Gopal Uppalapati.
From AgriBorder. Hop on, let's ride the future of agriculture together. 16.4 million Ugandans not have enough food to eat. Wait, how is this even possible with so much farmable land in Uganda? What we discovered during our stay in Bukedia district, Eastern Uganda, is that not all the farmable land is actually cultivated. let me tell you a story of Bernard, a farmer we interviewed. Every season, Bernard has to plow his land to prepare it for planting. To achieve this, Bernard has to hire an oxen from a neighboring farmer. Apparently, there aren't enough oxen in the area to plow everybody's field in the shortest time possible, in the 15-day rainfall window. So, Bernard has to wait painfully and patiently as he sees the rain pass by him. Finally, when the oxen is in place, well, Bernard's hopes are crushed. The oxen plow very slowly, sometimes refusing to plow due to fatigue and heavy workload. So Bernard will eventually abandon some of his fields and continue with the few fields he will have plowed in the meantime. In the long run, Bernard will have very few yields at the end of the season. Since he has to take care of his family, he will sell most of the food, leaving his family with very little to eat. That's why we see that the people that produce the food are actually the most food insecure. Sadly, for Bernard, the climate is not getting any better. It's worsening day in, day out. The rainfall is less predictable, infrequent, and the amounts are very little. So people like Bernard will keep struggling to have enough food and take care of their families.
So our design challenge then became, how might we enable farmers to plow their fields faster? And our solution was to get rid of the oxen, essentially. So what we were proposing to do is, instead of using oxen, we use a motorcycle, or as they're called here, bodas, to do what the oxen do agriculturally, hence our name, Agri-Boda. So we created this prototype here, and we have attached it to the back of a motorcycle
Our future plans are to create a custom file that is going to one as well, as the one I'm trying to see here. That design we created using CAIF software. We also intend to partner up with electric companies to reduce carbon emissions from the motorcycle, including companies like Zeno. We also intend to create other divisions that can do other agricultural tasks, such as planting seeds and feeding. So we intend to do
Myself, Rita Kashala, I'm from in agricultural family. I know with my experience in agriculture, we shall be able to do this both. And with my passion for climate change and women empowerment, I hope we shall be the right team.
So our market size starts off with the money spent by all smallholder farmers in Africa, sorry, Uganda, that they spend on plowing, about $155 million US. But we're starting off with focusing on smallholder farmers in the Canadian district who rent oxen for plowing, and that amounts to about $900,000 US. Our milestones so far have been creating the prototype that you see in the video, and also conducting tests that you saw in the video as well. And so far, we've had about 8 customer signups from interested farmers in the Canadian district. Our first plan, again, will be to prototype and test so that we can redesign and make something viable for the masses. Then we will offer demonstrations to show the fact that it works. And then we plan to sell 17 per month by July 2024 to hit our break-even targets.
With this innovation in place, we have a mechanism to be able to plan online. We have enough people with funding and extra to sell and increase with income. More farmers will take up this initiative, and yes, we shall have enough food for everyone in Uganda. As a team, we intend to encourage more women to take up the innovation, hence having more women in agri-engineering. This can only be possible with the guidance and advice of you, our food security champions. What we need to be able to kickstart this? We need 20 million Ugandan shillings. 3 million shall go into research and development to better iterate the design. And then we shall need 5 million Ugandan shillings to buy a new motorcycle and an ox plow to be used in the prototyping and demonstration. Then we shall need 12 million Ugandan shillings to cater for the operational costs and design our first attachments. I hope you enjoyed your ride to a mechanized agriculture and a more food secure Uganda. Thank you so much.
The presentation. We just want to open up the floor if there's any questions from the audience. If maybe you can state your name as well.
Hi, my name is Derek. This is brilliant, but the motorbike, while you are plowing, I assume Bernard wants to do it when it's the rainy season, right? Bernard would have to most likely start plowing when the rainy season is coming or when it started, correct? It's going to be quite hard to ride that motorbike in the farm. Did you consider a quad cycle or something like that?
so that they will be able to handle the degrading. Maybe also,
I know in North America or some other more snowy kind of countries, they also use chains in the tires. We've noticed that it's similar kind of like texture in a way. I don't know if that's the right word, but maybe we can test that as well. Put chains in the tires and see whether the grip is improved or not.
Thank you so much. There's another question here. Two in fact. You mind stating your name and then the question?
Hello, my name is Anya. In your presentation, you didn't mention anything about intellectual property. So do you think your prototype will be at any stage at a point where you consider securing some intellectual property, or how do you secure yourself from getting copied from the people?
And on getting there is I don't know the legal word that protects the design of we realized we cannot patent the attaching anything to a border, but we can patent but we can secure the design. So yes, we have that in plan.
Hi everyone, my name is Noah. Thank you for the presentation. It's quite a unique idea. I like how you're integrating a solution that's already being used to integrate it with the local farms and ultimately provide more output. I have basically three questions there that are somehow related. One, you mentioned climate change. I'm not a climate change expert myself, but I believe those motorcycles use diesel. So my question is, how do you, in the, of course, future, plan to eradicate that? Secondly, it's in terms of the durability. I think David mentioned it. Those motorcycles are not really made for such kind of terrain, and the riders can be onto different kinds of, can I say, accidents, for example. So what measures are you putting in place maybe to think about it? Lastly, it's in terms of ultimately what's the end goal, right? Because is it to help farmers get more output? Because if it's for your company to make profits, right? Farmers have to be able to use your solution. And for farmers to use your solution, it's not about your solution being cheaper from other existing solutions, but rather, are they getting more output in their farm produce, for example? Are they plowing most of their land, right? Because, okay, true, you can compare, okay, it's cheaper than an oxen or a tractor, but at the end of the day, our farmers getting more output in their farmland, right? So it's also good to consider what's the exact immediate benefit the farmers will get. Yeah, but it's a pretty cool idea. Thank you.
I'll answer the question related to climate change. So the motorcycle emits carbon dioxide, and the existing oxen emit methane. Methane is not as climate friendly as carbon dioxide. And maybe I think we forgot to include it, but we intend to partner with companies that are producing electric motorcycles in the future.
As Rita said, methane is it's 25 times more potent in keeping the heat within the atmosphere than carbon dioxide. So I think by not overworking the oxen as much, we will be able to reduce the methane levels for right now. But I think later on, once more electric motorcycles come into the Ugandan market and expand to the rural sites, we'll be able to partner with those companies, use electric and also solar powered perhaps motorcycles to be able to do this process. I apologize, I forgot your second question. So as we mentioned, it takes the oxen 4 days to plow an acre. And the thing is, a lot of people don't own the oxen, so they have to wait till the person who does own the oxen finish plowing their fields, which could take up to 4 or more days. And then the oxen have to come to their field, and then they have to wait 4 days or perhaps more, because it also depends on whether the oxen want to work that day or not. They're sentient beings. They could choose to refuse to work that day. So it could take more than 4 days. So what we're offering is a much more reliable and consistent innovation for plowing, so that it can be done faster. That way they can have more of their fields done, because a lot of them have to stop midway through to move on to the next stages of farming. So they'll be able to finish all of their land. That way they can plant all of it, have more yield at the end of the season, make more money by selling it. And then, sorry, the third question. Right. Yeah, right now we haven't thought about it too much, but again, as I mentioned, the chains on the tires and also getting different tires. Since when we were on there, they didn't exceed past the first gear. So if the injury shouldn't be happening too much, because they're not going fast enough to really have that big of an injury. But we've also noticed that when we were there, oxen caused a lot of injuries. We've noticed a few farmers have insane leg injuries because of an oxen kicked their leg. They have to walk really crooked now. So we hope to also, as like an extra outcome, be able to reduce oxen injuries within.
Thank you. One question coming from the online audience. This is from Matthew Van Geest. It says, congratulations on the great pitch. Given the importance of good agricultural practices, such as minimum tillage, how have you considered minimizing soil turnover to protect soil and water in your design?
How do we? Pardon?
How have you considered minimizing soil turnover to protect the soil and water in the design of the plow?
Really not understood the question.
So in order to, given the importance of minimum tillage, as in like minimizing soil turning over and damaging the soil, how have you considered that in your design?
Actually, in one of the interviews, I don't know if I've gotten the question right. In one of the interviews, the farmers said that the existing technologies do not plow their land deep enough. So, like, for example, when they are planting root crops like cassava or stem tubers, they do not become big enough. So we also hope that our technology will be able to help the farmers like plow deep enough. I don't know if that was the question.
In terms of damaging the soil, we've already seen tractors being used all over the world on fields such as this. So we don't expect too much damage to outcome from this, as it's a similar technology that already exists, except it's on a smaller scale.
Okay, thank you so much, AgriBonda team. Let's give them a round of applause. So as that is happening, we want to move to our second part of the presentation today, where we are going to have a panel discussion, where with that, we'd like to invite 4 fellows from our group, that is Chance, Diana, Viola, and Gopal, so that they can come and have like a small discussion with us to really get to learn beyond just the presentation they're making, but what was the process behind making of all this presentation. Yes.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks again good morning if you're joining us online. Yeah, thanks again for joining us. And we hope this panel discussion gives you more insight into the process that was used by the fellows and the teams to come up with some of the innovations. really trying to understand the problem, the root cause of the problem, and a solution that is not only appropriate, but also scalable to communities. Like Herbert was super kind to introduce the fellows, and I'm sure they'll introduce themselves over the course of today's presentations. But I'd like to jump right in and learn a little bit more about their experience and how they came up. So yeah, my first question is to Viola. So Viola, what were some of the challenges you encountered while working with teammates from diverse backgrounds and continents?
Oh, thank you. I'm called Viola. So I have like two main challenges. So the first one was the English accent. I think we can all see that our Ugandan accent is totally different from the Canadian accent. So we really had trouble getting most of the words they were saying. So we had to really adapt to the speed of their English. And I think with time, we are now good, though we can't really speak their accent, but we can really understand immediately. Then the next challenge is on decision making. Personally, in my group, during the ideation, I think it was a challenge because on the Canadian part, the Canadians have a lot of experience with like modern technologies. Their decision making, I think it is more based on maybe technology, but for us, it's more of culture, what have we seen in Uganda. So ideas that come from them and they are like more technical. So we're trying to tell them that maybe in Uganda, this couldn't work like right now, depending on what we've experienced. I think those are the main challenges of first. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks so much, Viola. My next question is for Gopal. Gopal, could you walk us through some of the initial steps that your team took when you got started on this project?
So some of the initial steps that we took. Well, firstly, I think the team building exercises were really great. Being able to work on a common goal, work to reach a common goal. I remember we had a spaghetti marshmallow building tower building competition, and I'm sorry to flex, but food security team like destroyed you guys. But that was really like a great way to start having a bond with each other, being able to use all our diverse opinions on working on something that we don't really have that much experience in because we're not civil. All three of us weren't civil. So yeah, so we were able to first have that initial bond, and then later on, we were able to bounce off ideas from each other, try to work on what works, what interests us, what we can all contribute to equally. And I think at the end, we were able to find something that really worked for both of us. Unfortunately, we did lose a team member halfway through, and that was a tragedy. She's not dead, sorry. She's not dead. She had some issues. So sorry. I'm gonna move on, sorry. So yeah, we started off as a 3, we came down to a 2, but in the end, I think we prevailed, being able to work through all those initial steps, being able to be a great team at the end.
Thanks so much, Gopal. My next question is for Charles. Charles, what were the most valuable lessons that you learned from the stakeholder interviewing process in Bukedia district?
For me, I'd say the most important is just listening to them. There were so many stats that we could find on the internet about, I'm on the healthcare team, so it was, mortality, top causes of mortality, what the researchers say the issues are. But when you actually go on the ground and you talk to these different people, whether they be doctors at private clinic, people at a pharmacy, people at public health facilities, or just regular members of the community, even kids. We tried to talk to kids, but they said they never get sick. Yeah, just listening to their challenges was so much more insightful than anything we could read in studies. And I don't want to spoil my pitch, so I won't go into too much detail. But yeah, like some of the challenges that they face were more so challenges that you see in Canada as well, but because of the different infrastructure in Uganda versus in Canada, the solutions are completely different. So yeah, I think for me that was the most insightful part.
Thanks, Charles. Diana, how did the process of system mapping influence the development and structure of your venture?
Thank you, Dan. So I know for a fact that system mapping is around visualizing components of a system and realizing how they relate or interact. So we came to realize that the water sector has very many issues. They are quite endless and they're still being solved like over time. System mapping really helped us narrow down on the problems in the community and helped us like focus on exactly what we wanted to do. And also when we decided on the solution that we wanted to intervene, it was easy for us to look at factors like security, especially in the community, because this, if in case maybe we installed the system and probably someone stole it, things like that, we had to find out of vandalizing that before it actually happens. So all led down to designing a system that was centered on the users.
Thanks, Diana. I want to go back to Charles. You mentioned interviewing. What aspects of the interviewing experience in rural Uganda surprised you the most?
I would say, of course, it depends on who you talk to. I think we've had more success in interviews that were planned ahead of time. But one thing that really surprised me is, especially going into businesses like unannounced, some people are very unexpressive. Like you would ask a question and it would just, I mean, it's a classic thing, but it's just the eyebrow yes. So then and sometimes you'd ask questions and you kind of hope that even if it's a yes, no question, they would elaborate, but it would really be like, okay, so like, is this a challenge for you? And then it would just be, yeah, okay, where do we go from now? And you really have to be direct and ask them like, oh, can you speak to that or speak to this? Really open-ended questions work much better than yes or no questions.
Thanks. And Viola, any surprises during your interviewing process?
Thank you. I think the most surprising part is we were interviewing one of our homestay papas, I think Karishan's papa. So as we were interviewing him, we had like an explosion somewhere in the neighborhood. So Karishan's papa told us that people in Bokedia, most of them use solar. I'm on the clean energy team, so we're into solar. So most of them have solar, but the batteries deplete like so fast. So people charge their phone batteries, the phone batteries directly from the solar panels. So you need to estimate the time the battery is going to get full so that you remove it. If it exceeds, the battery is going to explode. So most people in Mokedia live in huts, grass-thatched houses. So if the panel is near the hut and the battery explodes, that means the whole hut is going to burn down. So luckily enough, for the moment we were interviewing, the explosion happened like outside the hut. So that person was very lucky at that point. Then another surprising thing was that I think some of the business members we interviewed, some of them were not really like understanding our business idea. So they'll just say, yes, yes, do you need this? They're like, yes. So they are not giving reasons. So just like they are giving you straight answers and you really need like explanations maybe to better your interviews the next time, but you're not really getting that. Thank you.
Thanks, Viola. Diana, were there moments where you found it challenging to really trust the design process? And how did you overcome any of those instances?
Well, I think there are so many instances when it was so hard to trust the designing process and easier to actually trust ChatGPT. Because, yeah, specifically for my team, we really had challenges even coming up with a solution. So we had around 3 ideas towards the end, and we're really struggling to even perfect one. So we're designing 3 things at the same time, going back and forth. It's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. Yeah.
Well done. And Gopal, same question. So yeah, did you ever lose faith in the process? And if so, how did you overcome that to come up with everybody?
I think lose faith is a really strong term. I don't think I've lost faith within the project. There were times when I was definitely questioning the direction we were heading and the ideas that we were coming up with. I honestly don't remember most of the last 3 months. Like in terms of this coming up to this stage of the final product, everything was just a blur and it just kept going and going. So I just thought like time only moves forward. If something is meant to be, it's meant to be. But there was also times where we talked about all the pros and cons of each of our ideas, especially in the beginning when we had multiple, and tried to evaluate which one's the best to be able to move forward with. So we had two at a part, which was AgriBota, and then another idea, and then we decided that AgriBota would be more feasible in the short term and something that is a bit more innovative. So I think that's how we came to this point. But there were definitely times where it was really hard to see where we would go within the program because we just didn't know what we were going to do, or there was just some sort of disinterest within certain topics that we were discussing.
Amazing. Well, yeah, I want to say a big thank you again to our panel, and hopefully as the rest of the day goes on, you can see the process that they use to come up with some of the really exciting innovations. So, huge round of applause for the teams.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel and the panelists. I want us to take this opportunity now to move to the second innovation of the day. And this group is called BOPE. They'll tell us a little bit more of who they are and the innovation. BOPE team members.
Thank you.
No? Good afternoon to everyone. My name is Diana, and today I'll be sharing a problem and a very exciting solution from Team BOPE. As of 2023, over 20 million Ugandans depend on boreholes as their most reliable source of water for their families. Unfortunately, research has shown that in most of these rural areas, 50% of the hand pumps that have been previously constructed have become idle and lie useless, leaving most of these communities in dire need of clean water. In Okungro Parish alone, one of the 63 parishes in Bukedia district, out of the 8 boreholes that have been constructed in the past have become non-functional, leaving only 2 of them serving a population of over 2,000 people. Every time a borehole breaks down, it means that children and mothers who are responsible for fetching water in their families have to walk a longer distance just to get safe water, and they get it from sources that are potentially safe but are not actually safe. Those are open spring wells. I would like to introduce to you a lady called Amoding. Amoding is a 44-year-old mother. She has been appointed by her village in Okungro to be a custodian to the borehole. The borehole serves over 100 families. However, every time there is need to collect money for maintenance for the borehole, only 55 of them pay. This has become a challenge because every time there is need for maintenance of the borehole, there is no money. People have to wait, just sitting around the borehole, waiting days and days until the borehole is repaired. These irregularities and conflicts have brought a pull and push between the custodian and the people in the community. Amoding has a job herself. She's a farmer, she has things to do, but she takes on this role as a volunteer to the community. She has to collect an amount of 2,000 shillings, which might be different from other communities. When you look at Western Uganda, in Makondo Parish, they collect a fee of 1,000, but the government of Uganda thought about a way of making our boreholes more sustainable, and they created a policy where each of these communities has to do this every month. It's, however, not effective, and the problem goes on and on and on. If maintenance is not happening for these boreholes, our team has a challenge that is actually addressable, and very many NGOs are yearning for it. Our challenge is to help custodians to make sure that funds are readily available for maintenance of the boreholes each and every month. Ladies and gentlemen, every single year, or as time goes on, innovations come along and people promise us things. But today, we present to you BorePay, a product that is going to change the water sector and make rural communities more sustainable. I'd like to hand over to Raphael.
Thank you, Diana. So now let me introduce you to BorePay. BorePay is a hand pump management system that is twofold. The first part is an app designed for custodians to onboard users easily on the app. It will also be used to manage usage, finances, and also track maintenances over the years. The second part is a device that will be attached on the outlet of the borehole. This device will enable to control access based on payments or the type of user. For example, we know that a part of the population is vulnerable. For example, the elderly or even schools. These people need to access water for free. So yeah, the system will work. Users will all have a card or a tag. They will go to a BorePay agent, pay their monthly fee. This will work similarly like mobile money. A mobile money agent, you give them money, they put it in your account. That will work the same way for BorePay. You will pay your monthly fee through our network and our agent network, and then your card will give you access to unlimited water over the month. So our solution is really designed to help custodians manage the borehole. We also hope to allow for an equitable repartition of costs in the community. Like Diana was explaining, some people pay and some avoid payments. Therefore, people who are paying end up paying more than their fair share. So if everyone pays their fair share, we're able to reduce the amount for everyone. This will also allow to always have the funds available for maintenance whenever it is needed. And BorePay will also allow to collect data on users, on usage, on finances, and on maintenance over the years. And now Anna.
Ladies and gentlemen, the players providing prepaid solutions for water sources are doing so mainly for taps. Interestingly, the few that are doing the same for hand pumps are in their prototyping phase. Now, our product is 30% cheaper than the ones in the market that are in their prototyping phase, and it's simple to use, and also we assure you of less breakdown. In Uganda, 9.3 billion is spent on constructing boreholes in Uganda. We have over 37 boreholes available in the country. Unfortunately, half of the number of boreholes that are constructed annually break down due to lack of maintenance, leaving half the number to work with. In our bid to promote sustainability of water sources, we intend to work with non-governmental organizations that have been at the forefront of providing sustainable water solutions to rural Uganda. We'll also work with the borehole committees that are in charge of the water sources, especially boreholes in the communities, and the government of Uganda that has an interesting policy on operation and maintenance that requires each household in a rural community to pay 1,000 shillings towards the cause. The price per unit of our product is 700 USD, an equivalent of 2.5 million Ugandan shillings. Our gross marginal profit per sale is 250 USD, an equivalent of 900,000, and we need 8 units to break even. That is where our earnings will be equal to our expenditure.
So far, we have interviewed over 30 individuals in the community. So families, mothers, also custodians, member of borehole committees, NGOs. We have received really positive feedback. NGOs have mentioned that it's a major need that needs to be filled for the communities. We have even built a hardware prototype. There's a video we can show after. It's right there on the table as well. And we're currently developing the platform for custodians. So our impact, our solution will help to maintain boreholes, have the available funds to maintain boreholes. Therefore, more functional boreholes will be in the communities. This will allow for more reliable access to water. So now when boreholes are breaking, especially women, have to walk for miles to fetch water for the family, sometimes several times a day. Eventually, we also want to lower the cost for users, like I was explaining earlier. If everyone is able to pay their fair share for the community, then everyone will pay less money. And then for custodians, borehole management is such a hassle, so we really want to reduce the burden of this job for those people. So what's next for BorePay? We want to onboard at least 2 communities with 5 or more devices. This will allow us to collect comments, feedback on our technology, improve it, and then start after building our BorePay agent network to make sure that everyone has access easily to someone where they can pay their monthly fee, and then eventually partner with an NGO to expand across Uganda and Africa.
Our team consists of 3 solid engineers. Najuma Diana, who is a software engineer. She has keen interest in Internet of Things, programming, and fintech. Myself, I am a civil engineer by training. I have keen interest in serving my community and highway engineering. Raphael, very interesting fellow. He's a student of mechanical engineering, and he did start playing with electronics at the age of 12. Ladies and gentlemen, we seek $6,000 to be able to produce our first batch of BorePay management systems. And this is a breakdown of our working costs. Thank you very much for listening to BorePay. Please feel free to contact us for more information on our product.
So thank you so much, BorePay. Just as we know the drill now, we have like 7 minutes for any questions and engagement from the crowd. There's a first question there. There's a second one here.
Thank you. My name is Felicitas. My first question is about the security of this equipment. How sure are you that it will be there? And also, how does it deny access to those that have not paid? Then the other thing I would like to know its relation to climate change. Because, okay, it's more about easing the work of the borehole manager, but also how is it in relation to climate change? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. First of all, for the security of this device, we also had this question raised when we were presenting our idea to several NGOs. We will need to do some modifications to the design, bring some things, for example, maybe more high up for to make sure it's not easy to like just take off and leave with it, such as the solar panel. so yeah, the design will have to improve. It was just really a mock-up to show the technology. But also we had the comment that some other devices similar to that, when they are installed in the communities, people feel like the NGOs installing this really think this community is important, and they're installing a new technology, so they feel like they want to protect that device. So yeah, we really hope to engage the community into protecting this device. The second question was how to restrict access. So it will essentially be a valve that will be at the outlet of the borehole. So if the account is not cleared, the valve will remain closed. We also want to make sure there's mechanisms. For example, if you forget your card, you might have like three times per month. Make sure that if you forget it occasionally, you can still access water, because it's really important for us. And the last thing was about climate change. We're not directly addressing climate change. However, climate change, a lot of sources dry up over time. If it's not maintained properly, it's left to perish. So we want to make sure by maintaining the boreholes properly, the borehole will continue giving water, even if dry season is more intense, and so on. I hope that answers the question.
Just to add something on the climate change bit. So water moves in a cycle, yeah? Over time, with the changing patterns in the temperatures, we'll experience some drops of weather of the water that is available. But there are boreholes existing that have broken down and have not been maintained. So what about we maintain these boreholes? We save money to maintain them, and we maintain them so that we'll have constant access to water.
Hello, I have a question from our virtual audience. This is from Melvin. Brilliant proposal. There be a possibility of partnership with the local government subsidizing the cost paid by these households?
Absolutely. One of our main goals, stroke objectives, is to make sure that the money the communities were paying earlier is reduced. If a community was paying an amount of 2,000 shillings, we hope to lower it to an amount of at least 1,500 with our partnerships. First of all, we are at BOPE. We believe that the community is a very important factor in our system and our network. So we hope to sign contracts with the borehole committees in each of these villages, onboard them fully, and subsidize or standardize the amount of money being received by the custodian. In our new system, the custodian will not be just a custodian. There will be a BOPE agent. They will be subjective to a salary that is monthly. They'll also take on other roles and receive continuous forms of payment. And with such an initiative, we hope that the local government and all the people involved in the water committees will actually be part of BOPE.
Okay, hi. How are you? I really love this idea, especially because I know how difficult it is to carry that 20-liter jerrycan on your head for a long distance. I've been there, so I really, really love the idea. My question is around adoption. What is your strategy for adoption, particularly because of how effective your solution might be? And I know that it can be inconvenient for people to pay that money, understandably so, because like the audience that you are targeting actually may not afford to pay.
All right, so we did some interviews, we talked to the people, and realized they're actually hungry for the solution, in that they're already paying this amount of money every month. We do know that there are families that are struggling and may not be able to pay, or there are groups of people that are vulnerable, say the elderly, the school-going children, because actually this borehole was actually established in schools, like primary schools. So we know that these are people who are not supposed to pay for the solution, also that disabled. We hope to factor them in that they'll be getting free cards the borehole custodian or the borepay agent has been part of this community for over 20 years and above. So they know each and every member of the community. They know who is worthy of the free card and who is not. We hope to onboard them and they'll help us manage that aspect. I hope I've answered you.
Okay. Okay, I guess I'll go. Thank you guys for that. My name is Joel Bamwise. I work a lot with entrepreneurs in the ecosystem. First comment, which is a comment, not directly a question. Are you not over-engineering the solution by creating a very complicated system to something that may rather be a bit simpler? That is a general comment, not directly a question. And related to that, I didn't hear you talk about the existing alternatives. From what I have seen, if people don't pay, there is like a rich family which handles the payments from the experience I've had in the rural areas, which then is the key, almost key stakeholder of when the rest of the village has failed to pay. There is this one family which feels more pain, or household, and then they either put up the money or they become the custodians or something. Is it, are you in any way putting these people as stakeholders to work with along the solution? Maybe they might have some ideas. Then last question, comment would be, why are you choosing NGOs versus the local community or the families or people as key stakeholders? Because one of the very reasons why these boreholes fail is because someone has come, donated it, left. All right. The NGOs also come, they are funded, they leave. Isn't that a contradiction to the solution? And very lastly, if we are solving the issue of, if the real problem is lack of maintenance, why don't we just remove the maintenance and supply the water? So let's say instead of trying to solve the maintenance, maybe a solar automated system, a solution that does not require maintenance. That's a comment. Thank you.
Okay, I'll try to answer your question. So first of all, for the engineering, we hope to make a really simple system. We have seen our competitors, they have built a system that is complex. It relies on flow meters, so a sensor that tracks the quantity of water that leaves the borehole. And so because of that feedback loop between the valve and the sensor, there's a lot of problems, and oftentimes the device breaks and they can't use it. So we don't want to be a burden for NGOs or other organization we partner with. So that was the first question. The second, regarding families who richer families, of course we are open to. We were talking about NGOs, but we're open to partnering with any entities that could have the possibility or the interest in our product. We're still really at the early stages, so we have made a few interviews to see who could be interested in our product. We received good positive feedback from NGOs. But yeah, absolutely, if there's families that are willing to help us in that process, maybe if they adopt the system for the community, we are really open to work with everyone to expand.
I'll answer the question on why NGOs and why the local borehole committees. So in the area where we were able to get experience, almost all of these boreholes borehole committees are in charge of boreholes in rural Bukedia. So all the solutions, anything to do with boreholes has to go through them. So they would be the right asking authority. And then also for the NGOs, they usually do construct boreholes in rural communities. So how about they construct, because they construct it and they just leave it there, they expect the community to take care of it and make it sustainable. How about they start to make boreholes, but with an attached system that can save money for maintenance of it over time. And also you talked about communities, rather the rich, quote unquote, families that are okay, that are forced to pay for the maintenance when it breaks down on behalf of everyone else. When we interviewed most of the people who usually end up digging deep into their pockets, they're not very happy from our sample space that they actually have to go the extra mile, and yet everyone gets the same resource.
So one final question quickly. This is from Tim, from our virtual audience. Community buy-in will be critical for this to be accepted, especially by those who've been getting the free ride. Are you planning some form of community consultation to ensure everyone understands and supports this change before you introduce board pay?
I did not hear the first part, sorry.
So are you planning some form of community consultation before you introduce board pay to the community?
Oh, all right, thank you. Actually, we already did one before we left the village, one of the villages where we were. But also, as part of our financial model, we have a plan of spending 500,000 Ugandan shillings on every village that we visit, just to do training for the borehole custodians or board pay agents, and for the communities that we shall be onboarding onto our platform. At the end, feel free to visit the table and check out our prototype to see how it works. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dorothy. For the interest of time, I want to invite the third group, that is Clinovo, to be able to share their presentation with us.
Fellows already know how I'm going to start, but drugs are expensive. In fact, the average cost for ACT malaria treatment in rural Uganda, again, for a child, is 11 days of household income. So that might leave you wondering, why is that so expensive? Well, I want to tell you a story about I went to a pharmacy to observe their operations and learn more about our users. And it all started when I went to the customer area and sat down and observed. Eventually, the supplier came in this little taxi van here and dropped off all of these boxes in the middle of the customer area. The owner then turned to me and says, "Charles, you come and work." And so that's what I did. I went to the back and started doing inventory. The process is the following. Open up the box, you pick out one of these little drug boxes you see here, my mouse, and then you find it on the list. Then you can see the quantity, expiration date, and all that different information. So as an employee, all you do is confirm that the quantity is there, put a little check mark, and once you do that, the 3 pages of the list, you give it to the owner. The owner will then enter into the computer, item by item, line by line, as customers are coming in to do their inventory. At that moment, she tells me, I just pray that the power doesn't go off or else I lose all my progress. They use Tally, a business software, but not any version of Tally, a pirated version. And in fact, that's not a unique situation across rural Uganda. 90% of the pharmacies we visited in Bukedi and Kumi district use either a pirated version of QuickBooks or Tally. And that comes with a bunch of problems. Number one, no offline or online syncing and no backup when power goes out. This means that if power goes out, you just can't use your software, you can't log your sales. Then if you have 3 tellers and 3 people making sales at the same time, only one person has access to that computer, and it's a fully local version. So if you have multiple computers and multiple softwares, they don't communicate within each other. So you can't aggregate any of the data. Then it's incompatible with cybersecurity. If your computer decides to install a Windows update, you better hope it's not a security update, because then that can completely detect your software as a virus and crash your computer. And finally, if any of these problems happen to you and you need to contact whoever gave you that pirated software, you're going to contact someone who comes at his own price and on his own time. That can even take an entire month, something we saw in the community. And so this leads to inconsistent and unreliable sales and inventory data. So you might be wondering at this point, okay, that's great, but what does that have to do with decreasing prices? Well, in developed countries, they actually use drug data to optimize their stocking, and that led to a 55% decrease in inventory costs in Taiwan, a decrease that we hope can be passed on to the end consumers. And so that's why we're building Clinova. Clinova is an enterprise software built to address our users' challenges by doing the basic stuff: accounting, sales logging and tracking, and inventory management. But it also comes with some additional features that I'll talk about in just a second. First, though, I'll show you some of the mock-ups we made to get feedback in the community. So this is a desktop version here on the left, and this is the mobile version here on the right. This is probably not what it's going to look like at the end, but we use this to get very valuable feedback and guide our design. And this is where I talk about the features. So our customers will love us because we're reliable. We're using Wi-Fi direct technology paired with a mobile app. That means that if power goes out and you can't use your desktop computer or your laptop's battery dies, you can switch to your mobile app and continue logging your sales. When these devices are both powered on through Wi-Fi direct, the desktop is able to create a peer-to-peer connection with multiple devices in the vicinity to sync the data completely offline. No Wi-Fi connection, no paying for data. Then it's also time saving. So if you're an owner and you need to get information about one of your pharmacy branches, now instead of having to go there, you can call your employees and say, hey, can you back up the information on the cloud? I need to know something about sales today. And then they do it, it's there on your phone. But then what if you don't know that much about data analysis? That's why we're creating a large language model like ChatGPT or Google Bard directly into our solution. That way you can just have a conversation with your data. You can type, what is my most profitable drug today? And it can directly give you an answer. No need to go playing spreadsheets. And furthermore, it's cheaper to use. We plan to price it according to the pirated version software, but also include customer service in our offer. So if something breaks, you don't have to pay out of pocket. And an example of how it could work, the supplier delivers the goods. Take your mobile app, you scan that printed list that the supplier gives you. You can then confirm the order contents directly on your phone, and it transfers inventory automatically. Then you log your sales, if power goes out, you switch devices. If you have multiple tellers, each log their sales on either your smartphone, or if you have multiple computers, many computers, and then your analytics are available just by asking a question to the app.
Why Clinova and not QuickBooks? We offer cheaper prices, especially for multiple users, and we also offer multiple device compatibility. Measurement is our biggest competitor because it offers a free software, but in Android version only. Now, our competitive advantage is that we offer both Android and desktop applications. So that means that the information and the data can sync easily, and all that at a cheaper cost. We use the subscription business model that has two types of packages. The basic package has sales tracking, inventory management, accounting and finance, cloud compatibility, and Wi-Fi direct. And all those features cost 10,000 shillings per month. And the premium package has computer vision, order recognition, and the large language model, and that is 30,000 shillings per month. According to our research, we discovered that the value for the total addressable market for enterprise software in Africa is $3.28 billion US. But we are focusing on East Africa that has a serviceable, obtainable market of $0.2 million per month. We are targeting pharmacies,
drug shops, and private clinics. Renova is set to make a positive impact on both the environment and healthcare accessibility throughout rural Africa. We're aiming to aggregate community health data to then compare with climate models so that we can show the global warming's impact on health and disease spread. Offering real-time monitoring of healthcare spending to government bodies allows data-backed decision-making on healthcare initiatives. And then we're going to improve healthcare accessibility to individuals in the community through allowing them or giving them the option of checking drug prices ahead of time, ahead of going to the pharmacies and spending the extra money on transportation costs. Our team consists of Charles, who has experience in inventory management at GE. He's based in Canada. Sylvia, who is a monitoring and evaluation specialist, who's based in Uganda. Olga, a software engineer, also based in Uganda. And then myself, biomedical engineering student based in Canada. Within the two districts, Kumi and Bukadia, we interviewed multiple pharmacies, of which 70% expressed interest in testing our product once we have a trial.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a mock-up that it's development to hope to accomplish before the end of this year, and also have made registration for 240 basic or 80 premium subscribers in order for us to break even. In the long run, we want to incorporate suppliers to this platform so that pharmacists online. Also, we want to make prices available to the public so that they can know where it's cheap and go and buy from there. By 2020 system that facilitates online transactions and payments. And by 2028, we want to have expanded to also other East African countries to benefit from our service. In order for us to implement our short-term goals, we need 15,000 US dollars, and 12,000 US dollars will be used to complete this product. 3,000 will be spent on marketing. In an effort for us to help local pharmacies thrive, we are aiming at strengthening the local economies and healthcare sectors in the rural areas. And we are actively seeking for strategic partners who share our enthusiasm to come and join us in this exciting journey, to support us in whichever way is possible through connections, collaborations, partnerships, and funding. Thank you very much for your audience.
Thank you so much, Klinovo. I'd like to move to the audience now if there's any questions from the crowd. One here.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm called Olit Oscar. You talked about your system helping to reduce prices, but then I'm very inquisitive because you find these medicines, they have standard prices from wherever they're being produced from. How are you going to convince these industries or companies like to reduce the prices?
Glad you asked that question. So a good part of drug prices, especially in rural regions, is overhead markup. So the supply chain usually comes into, I mean, if you go to the scale of East Africa, they come in from India through Mombasa and they make their way to the bigger cities, after which they make their way to the rural regions like Bukadia. So there's like a long list of suppliers. It goes through the supplier in Kampala, supplier in Mbale, then the supplier in Bukadia. And we were told by both private clinics and pharmacies that the prices vary quite a bit during the year. However, they get resupplied twice a week. So there's the potential to make bigger orders and order at times where prices are lower, especially when some of these drugs have expiry dates that take 1 year or 2 years or even 6 months. So the idea behind decreasing the prices is really, now that the data is there, they can make more informed decisions on when to order because they know when the stock is going to go down. That's not to say they don't know right now. They have an idea in their head, but oftentimes it's not as efficient as it could be. And about the end consumer part, just quickly, in Bucadia, there are, I think, 6 or 7 pharmacies. And we were told by multiple members of the community that the way they buy, for example, malaria medication now, is they make their way to one of the pharmacies, after which they check another one out. And if they see a price difference of as little as 500 shillings, that's going to take the consumers to this other pharmacy. So because of the high competition, we hope that by giving them the opportunity to have less of an inventory acquisition cost, will actually lower their prices, which will help them get more customers.
Yeah. First of all, I'd want to appreciate you for the work you've done. I think Cleanova is excellent and the stuff you've done. I'm only interested, you spoke about using natural languages to analyze the data, as opposed to programming languages or even machine languages for very old machines. I'm interested to find out how that would work. Looking at a lot of people with this product would be based in rural areas. What are some of these natural languages? Is it normal syntax, semantics, like someone can just, is it English, is it Spanish, is it Ateso? I think that was extremely interesting for me, the natural languages, because we're used to a lot of programming languages and stuff like this. Yeah.
Sorry. I think the pharmacy owners or the people who work in the pharmacy should be able to ask, will be able to ask questions in regards to the pharmacy, the data that they've input in the system, and they'll get feedback from, let's say it will be like a ChatGPT thing, but you won't necessarily need internet to work with it, because all the information that's needed is locally provided on your laptop. So like, for example, if a person would want to know the sales that they've made through the day or through the month, they could ask that, I'll call it our ChatGPT, and they can get the answer.
If I may add quickly, I wish it wasn't Ateso, but I think for now we're obviously creating a whole new AI language model is very difficult. We're fortunate enough that in the past months, all these APIs came out for Google Bard, for ChatGPT, and she said, as she said, like fully offline. There's also a model for that. That's about 10 gigabytes. But for now, the functionality, I'm pretty sure is in English. So like, yeah, you would really type like, what are my sales for the day, as if you're having a conversation, and it can give you the answer.
To be honest, I appreciate that. I think it's important twofold. Number one is the data is important to forecast how much drugs would need in the future, but also for the pharmacies to sort of like balance their sheets. You know, it's extremely important for them to make an economic advantage out of it. So I think it's a fantastic project, but then that's the question I'd be interested in you guys answering soon. Obviously, I'll speak about this because I'm interested in data. The natural languages with Google Bard and all these AIs is fantastic. It might be a bit too optimistic or too far for us to see, to train an AI to do that. But then if there could be a simplistic way, the pharmacy owners, because in your presentation, clearly they just drop the boxes on the road. So it would be urgent for you to find a way to sort the data in a meaningful way for the projections and for the business sense. Outside that, I think it's fantastic. And I really, it's also relevant, you know, because health is extremely important. So I thank you very much and wish you the best moving forward. Hopefully by 2024, you can have everything done. Finally, before I forget, I'm sorry, I'm speaking. You spoke about integrations in 2026. during your timeline. Would you have to do these yourselves? Why don't you use the referral software to do some of these things? Like Intuit has QuickBooks in the USA, so you could use that as opposed to building your own systems. That could be a lazy approach that works. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Maybe just before you respond to that question, there's one more. Yeah.
Thank you. From Gaurav. What challenges in implementation of the system do you think there may exist? And Lee, do you predict any initial resistance to switching to this newer system?
Can you repeat the first part, please?
Sure. What challenges do you expect to encounter in implementing this system?
So for the part about resistance to switching, we were actually told by many pharmacies that, especially the owners, employees cared not so much unless they have to do inventory, in which case they do care. But mostly owners have told us that if we're able to solve the problem of them not being able to use software whenever the power goes down and actually like getting all their data, they said absolutely we would switch. But that's why I put in the traction slide that it would have to be like a 1 month free trial. Every single one of them, they haven't told us like, yeah, we're absolutely going to switch to you guys whenever it's ready. But it's more so, okay, once it's there, I'd love to try it out. And then if I like it, of course I'd switch. Was there another part to that? I'm sorry.
Thank you so much, Noble. Yeah, maybe for the interest of time, because we are a few minutes late, I would like to take us now to our second panel discussion, where again, I would like to invite 4 of the fellows to come on stage, again, just to share some of the processes that they had to go through this ideation process. And our panelist today is Esteri. So the 4 fellows are Olga, Ethan, Raphael, and Rita.
Great presentation so far. In the beginning about ideation, and now I'm going to talk a little bit of how you came to the ideas and so Olga, can you tell us how you eventually landed on the
Hi everyone, my name is Olga. So it was very important for us to be present in those particular communities and to experience those particular challenges with them. So one of the earliest the first steps were finding out the symptoms of the causes of those problems. So I'm in the healthcare team, and healthcare is kind of a large sector. So it was important for us to talk to different people, finding out like the challenges they're facing in the healthcare department, and the symptoms of those challenges. And that enabled us to find the problem statement. So we got a few problems and a few solutions, but we had to narrow down to a specific solution according to a few factors like how government responds to that solution, are people willing to adapt to the solution, how much will it cost, all those came into play. So I think for me, it was the most important bit was really having to be in the place and talking to people, talking them through the challenges and the solutions. And even when we got the solution, we went to them and asked them if they would adapt to them, to the solutions, and how they wanted us to model it.
Yeah, it was difficult by time to really find an idea and move forward with it. I think one thing that is hard in 2023 is finding an idea that has never been worked on by another company. I can count the number of times I've had an idea thinking it's revolutionary, and then I Google it, and then I see that Amazon has invested in the startup the week before. So yeah, it's hard to see that gap between that gap where other companies have not seen value yet, and be able to have enough confidence that you yourself, at our age, I'm still in university, so it's having the confidence that you could be able to do better than maybe bigger players in the industry, and have the confidence that there's value in what you're trying to pursue. Yeah, I guess that's what I found the hardest in the ideation process.
I'll ask that same question to Ethan. What was the process during your ideation? Was it difficult? Maybe you could let the audience know a little bit more about your ideation process in your group.
Yeah, ideation was definitely most difficult. I think initially coming up with ideas wasn't the most difficult part, because when you're starting, you're excited, ideas are flowing, and but then when you start thinking about like, okay, what are the root values of my users? And you start analyzing the product market fit and like what features your customers will really value. You start to have to shift your ideas to adjust for that. And when we initially started and we had our 5 ideas to choose the best one from, of course it was tough at first, because maybe some people feel like attached to certain ideas, but then when we laid it out and we considered, okay, which ideas are the most impactful, which ones are the most feasible for us, which ones have the best product market fit, and which ones with our skills we'll be able to achieve, it was easier to choose an idea.
So Rita, you had your Agri-Boda idea. What was the next step after that?
After we had the Agri-Boda idea, we remembered a question that one of the first presenters told us: whose development is it anyway? We went back to the people. Do they want the idea? Are they interested in it? Do they actually need it? So we went back to the people, asked them. They actually helped us redevelop it several times. And then also, we asked the team fit, would we actually achieve this? And because we had like 3 ideas that were on board, and we had to choose among the 3 ideas, which of these 3 ideas actually can the team do, and can the team best do than any other person out there? And then next, we had to ask ourselves, are we passionate about this idea? Do we like it? Well, the people that we're designing it for like it, but do we like it? Because small, like startups, you need the resilience, the energy, the patience. So you need to love the idea as much as possible for you to withstand the shocks. So that's it.
Good. Olga, what were some of the most useful tools to help you as you began to think about going to market?
So one and the most important was Zoho CRM. So as I'm going to market, I'm dealing with customers, and it's very important for me to know how to relate with my customers, how to make them stay longer, how to subscribe to my product more often. So for me, that was a very important tool. And then I also, the other important tool was the spreadsheets. We used it for financial modeling. It was important for us to understand what 1 unit of our product costed, and we were able to do that with a spreadsheet.
Good. I'll ask that same question to Ethan. What was one of your most useful tools when you're going into market?
yeah, I was gonna say the same ones that Olga mentioned because they were really useful. ChatGPT as well. No, just kidding. Not really. And yeah, also like for us, I think the systems mapping was a crucial part as well because like seeing where we could fit into the systems that are existing in these rural communities is essential into figuring out where we're going to fit in the market.
Rita, what has been some of the biggest lessons that you'll take away from the fellowship?
Well, most of the speakers are saying, okay, the fellowship started online, and that's where I got the biggest lesson from. We started with the foundation learning, and from there I got to understand that Africa has the potential and capability to solve its problem, and that's why this fellowship is actually a good one. They bring the power back to us, to the Africans, not someone designing for us anywhere in New York and bringing it for us here. I liked it, and like when we were in Bukedia, we still went back. So each community has the potential to solve its problem. That's what my biggest lesson from the fellowship and association. Thank you.
Raphael, what's one of your biggest lessons from this fellowship?
I think maybe adding on what Rita has just said, you know, as a student in Canada, we're coming here thinking we can solve problem, but truth is, you know, there's a lot of things we see in Western countries about Africa, how it happens here. You know, we hear about, especially I was working on water, like people have to walk for miles to get water. But sometimes the situation in the village is not as tough as we could think, or the problem isn't really what we think. So being able to having the opportunity actually to go in the village, really experience what these people, how these people live, being able to see where the problems are, to talk with them and really identify what do they struggle with, because you know we have our we all have our ideas about how hard their life is on certain points, but you know there's nothing like going fetching water with you know, my mom, for example, my mama and my homestay, we're fetching water and see how these people, you know, go a few times a day to carry 20 liters jerry cans on their head. I've tried to do that. I wasn't able to, but they go many times a day. So it's really impressive, and there's nothing such as experiencing a village homestay to really realize all of this and see where innovation can really help people. So I'm eternally grateful for EWB for allowing us to have this experience in this community.
Thank you. So I think we can give a big round of applause to these fellows and what they've accomplished.
Steady and the team. Now on to our final presentation of today. I would like to take this opportunity to invite Shine On Solar to make the presentation. Yeah. I got scammed. I made a strategic decision to invest in solar, to not only increase the revenues of my business, but also to get free electricity for the next decade. the solar company assured me that my solar panels would last at least 10 years. Recently, 2 years into my solar system, I was serving a customer and my power went out. I was wondering why, so I called in my technician and he told me that my solar battery needed to be replaced. I didn't understand, so I called the solar company and they said, we can't replace it. There's only a 1-year warranty. So I didn't know what to do. I was actively losing customers because I could not provide them with electricity. So I had to resort to harmful generators, diesel generators. Not only did that affect the stability of my business, but it also cut into the revenues of my business. This is the true stories of rural Ugandan businesses and their experiences with solar. With around 10% of rural Africans having access to electricity, there's costly batteries and their short lifespans. A whole entire solar system is expensive, and having to replace the battery every 2 to 4 years can cost a lot. Well, when a solar battery can cost upwards of 1 million shillings, a business owner might think, well, damn, I can just buy a cow for that price and I can get a better investment on it. This is the very reason Shine On Solar was established. We're here to provide affordable and reliable electricity always, to keep your business shining on. Now my colleague, Ethan, will continue.
Thank you. I'll try and follow up that Oscar-worthy performance. So yeah, Shine On Solar. Our product is solar battery leases. We provide batteries to businesses that already have solar systems with high quality batteries under a yearly term, paying at a monthly rate, high quality batteries that they otherwise wouldn't be able to afford. So this is how it works. We've developed a simple 5-step onboarding process for businesses where we recruit the business, we vet them to make sure that they're a good fit for our lease, both based on the legitimacy of the business and their needs. We evaluate their energy needs, we install the battery, and then we collect payments monthly via mobile money. We're partnering with a company called Innovex that's designed a chip that we can install with our battery to monitor both payments, usage, performance, and the health of the battery. So this is, for example, if a company, a business, they don't pay for the battery for 1 month, we can remotely turn off access to electricity provided by that battery, which de-risks the lease for us. So we all know about solar batteries, but what makes us innovative? What makes us innovative is our financing model. These businesses are buying cheap batteries that die quickly. With our model, they're able to access high quality batteries, and even when they degrade, we're the ones liable for replacing them. For example, if their battery stops working, they can call us, and within 24 hours, we'll send an agent to replace and repair the battery so they can focus on their operations. Another thing is we have no high upfront costs, increasing the adoption of our program by businesses. Our lease term is only 1 year, and we use local business vetting agents, local community members, to determine if the business is a good investment for us and if they'll truly benefit from our lease program.
Thank you, Ethan. So with a solar battery costing 1 million Uganda shillings, we hope to charge 60,000 shillings per battery per month, making a marginal profit of 48,500 shillings per battery per month. Breaking even within just 16 months highlights our growth for our company. The market that we hope to penetrate within the immediate future is rural businesses in Eastern Uganda that have pre-existing solar systems, and this amounts to an estimate of $10 million US. The solar market in Uganda is growing at a very rapid rate. And for a fact, according to the Uganda Bureau of Statistics, the number of people using solar in Uganda has doubled between 2017 and 2020.
Thank you so much, Viola. So far, what we have achieved, we have been able to, okay, we have 13 businesses that are interested in our product, in our leasing system. We also developed a business vetting system that we use to vet the businesses. Furthermore, we have spoken to battery suppliers and IoT controllers that are willing to partner with us. We differ from other competitors in that we offer a battery leasing period. That means that we offer a solar battery as our component. We offer them a monthly format payment period with no upfront cost. And when the battery is depleted, we're always there to replace them. Other than others who offer a daily, monthly payment period for a battery to own. Then through our research, we have discovered that people care more about powering their products, powering their appliances, to owning the batteries. Meet our team. Our team consists of Viola Tuguminkiriza, who is our financial lead. She's good in web design, accounting, and finance. We have Harishan, who is a tech lead. He's good in software engineering. Then me, Brenda Kulu. I'll be the sales lead. I do sustainable agriculture and extension, and I'm good in sales. Then Ethan, who is the operations lead. He did bioresource management.
So Shine on Solar is an impact-focused enterprise. And as more businesses adopt our solar leases, you're going to start to see things like increased lighting in schools, allowing students to study for longer periods, increased productivity in businesses, increasing income for families, and less use of polluting diesel generators, decreasing the amount of greenhouse gases emitted. Over time, this will restore the reputation of solar in rural communities in Uganda that has been depleted because of this battery situation. A key point to mention with our company is that over the next few decades, as solar is adopted more, there's going to be tons of solar waste generated. So as we go to companies, we install new batteries, we're going to collect the old batteries that are there and make sure they're disposed of properly. This is critical because in these rural communities, there isn't proper waste disposal systems in place. And if things are like, well, batteries, for example, which are particularly toxic to the environment, are not disposed of properly, it can affect things like water, and we're just gonna have to end up giving our clean water team more work, and we don't want to do that.
Thank you, Ethan. So Shine on Solar envisions a rapid growth over the next 2 years and a quarter, onboarding 10 businesses by the end of 2023. We hope to invest in radio adverts so as to break even with 80 payments per month in 2024 and expand our market outside Eastern Uganda by 2025. We are therefore seeking 37 million Uganda shillings to gain traction. This money is in a breakdown of battery inventory, taking 20 million Uganda shillings, 2 million going into marketing and sales, and 15 million Uganda shillings for our runway within 6 months. Any support given to us in form of funding, mentorship, and finances will really help us make Uganda shine on solar.
Shine on Solar. We're here to provide affordable, reliable solar electricity always.
Thank you so much, Shine on Solar. I'd like to take you to the floor if there's any questions from the audience.
Thank you guys for the presentation. Wonderful idea, excellent problem. It's an existing problem that definitely needs a solution. Just one quick question. What is your, and I'm not sure whether you mentioned it, but what is your single battery cost? What's the cost of the battery you're talking about? You said in the market it's $1 million. Yours, which is better, how much does it cost and how long, what's its lifespan? Yeah.
So our battery costs will actually depend on the business needs in terms of energy. So the minimum cost of maybe the smallest battery is going to be 1 million Uganda shillings. And we hope to buy very durable batteries that can last up to 5 years. So the business, we don't need to replace it even actually after 2 years. Yeah.
Then your battery, if you say is going to be 1 million, is there a difference between the two batteries?
No, the 1 million was for us, not the market. We didn't talk about the market price.
If I can offer a little clarification. So when we made that comparison of a battery to a cow, like being 1 million shillings, those are for those high quality batteries, which are the ones that we hope to supply. Because our user, if they're thinking, okay, I just bought this like lower quality battery for, let's say, 500,000. If they're like, okay, this battery is going to degrade in 2 years, why would I buy another one? So let me instead pay monthly at a lower rate to lease a really good battery. And I know I'll always have this battery because we're responsible for replacing it if it ever breaks.
Thank you. There's a question here and then there's a question online.
Sorry. Thank you so much for your good presentation, and clearly a problem that needs solving and with commercial solutions. Mine is on the leasing model. So fundamentally, when you're leasing, you're giving a loan in an essence. And you have to think about things like recovery, whether it's of the asset, because you're loaning the asset until ownership transfers. So you've solved for recovery through your IoT device from Innovex. But have you thought of potentially including, I don't know, an element of, say, using the CRB system? Because I know there's a CRB for renewable energy called Blue Grid. That is one. And then the second one and the last one is on the useful life of the battery. So from the point, because you talked about disposal, so I assume there's a period in which you can use it, and then it's no longer viable to use it. Still tying to recovery. So first of all, what's the useful life of a battery? And say after 2 months, you have someone who can no longer, who's not, sorry to use banking words, credit worthy. So you have to recover the device. You've attempted the, switching off remotely, it's not working out. Yes, you take it back. So how do you deal with that inventory? Do you refurbish it and put it back to market? It's also something to think about. Thank you.
Yeah, if I can touch on the asset recovery. I was having a bit of trouble hearing you, but tell me if I'm getting you right. In terms of if a user it stops paying and we have to go and collect the battery, with the Innovex chip, we're able to monitor the capacity of the battery, its health, and with that, we can say, okay, this battery is still working at, let's say, 80% capacity. It's suitable enough for this other business that might be a bit smaller, like after that 1 year of use. You see what I'm saying? So even if a business opts to leave the lease after the first year, we can take that battery and put it in another business because we'll be able to monitor the health. And at the point where the battery is no longer able to be refurbished in that way, that's when we will look for proper disposal and even other uses, like if a battery if a bunch of batteries have become maybe degraded to a point where we can't give them to a new customer, like they can be used for other uses, like in tandem, because they're all still working a little bit.
One question from our virtual audience. And could they adjust their models to steal your market? So for instance, are MySol a competitor?
Well, it is still possible for them to steal our business model, but they already have a robust system where they can do pay as you go. And while we still are figuring out how we can do the Innovex system, we feel like we can come out on top.
I guess I would just say that like MySol specializes in hire purchase, the hire purchase model, and they haven't done a leasing model just like this. And as a new player in the game, by having such a focused target just on batteries, we'll think, and we have our niche user, which is those that already have existing solar systems where the battery is not working. We think we'll really be able to come into the market strongly and penetrate that niche.
To add on something small, MySol has customized packages. So if it's like a home system, you'll have to also purchase their TV even if you already have, because it comes with a package and you really have to pay for it. Whereas on our side, we really customize our product towards the business needs. Thank you.
So there's just one last question.
Thank you. Yeah, I just have a question, maybe common question. So you mentioned that disposal of batteries after you use them, you use batteries is really important, and I agree, it's a really important point. So your company will generate a lot of waste. Have you thought of perhaps instead of disposing of the battery, maybe recycling, turning the batteries into raw materials that could be provided to the company you buy the batteries from, so to eventually maybe close the cycle and also increase your revenues using raw material from the batteries?
Thank you. Originally, we had also thought about recycling the batteries as our main focus. But then our worry was like, when we are recycling the batteries, the recycling process really involves a lot of steps, and those steps involve a lot of using of gases or maybe generators operating, powering the process. So that was our worry too. Though we thought of that.
Okay, I think maybe for the interest of time, let's give them a round of applause. Well, thank you, Shine on Solar. Yes, I'd like to say that we have come to the end of our presentations today. I want as if maybe we can give a big round of applause to all our presenters today. I know it has not been easy for them to summarize the whole 13 weeks into 8 minutes of what we are seeing. And as the panel discussions have also highlighted, there was a lot that was going behind the scenes for them to be able to be where they are. So with that, I just want to say thank you so much for them for one, the experience. It has not been an easy experience for them. As I said, they had to go to Bukedia, literally staying in a rural village in a mud thatched house for almost like 5 weeks. They also have to travel back to Kampala, meet with different stakeholders within the specific sectors they are. So I hope some of these experiences that they have been able to get is just not something that they sat and read or do research, but they actually went into the market to identify the need and what is required. On behalf of that, I think this program could not have happened because of different stakeholders. And one of them is the stakeholders present here. I know there's so many organizations that are presented here that are working in the ecosystem of innovation, entrepreneurship, and all that. So I also want to say thank you so much for creating your time to be here, to listen to some of these innovations. and be able to see what are some of these innovations that are coming out, especially when you're looking at the broader context of climate change and how this ties to the various sectors, whether it's on access to clean water, whether it's access to renewable energy, whether it's access to sustainable agriculture, or even we are looking at the issue of health and how this ties into climate change. So I want to say thank you for that. I also want to give a big shout of applause to one of our training partners, United Social Ventures, for the time that they have invested in this. Yeah, I know it has been a very long journey with them, traveling with the fellows to wherever they had to go to ensure that they get the resources, they get the tools that they need to be able to be where they are today. Another partner I want to acknowledge is ADECO in Bukedia. We could not have done this without them. They were able to help us organize the community introductions, for the fellows also to have some of the interviews that they did with the community members, and that was very invaluable to us. I also want to acknowledge the online team. I know there are over 100 people who join us today online, whose part of them are involved in the fellowship in different capacity. Some of them are university representatives who have also kind of have an interest in terms of how do we build technology and innovation at a very early stage when our fellows, some of them coming from the university, they have that the passion of how do I make change? How do I use my engineering skills? How do I use my business skills to be able to sort of like create change? I know we also have some also donors online and also some of our partners in Canada, whether some of them are corporates, are individual people who have also been supporting EWB or the program that we have today. So I also want to acknowledge them and also thank them. Finally, I want to mention that as we come to the end of this program, the essence of today was just not to see these innovations, to see these presentations, but also to have an opportunity where we can also network, also kind of ask some follow-up questions. I know not everyone had an opportunity to ask, maybe there's that burning question you want. So after this program, we are going to have a small sort of like tea break where we can all sort of like have those in one-on-one conversations to again follow up on these innovations. So I just want to wrap up by saying thank you so much, everyone. And I hope we can have these few minutes to be able to connect as a group. So thank you so much.